Hi everyone, my name is Ita from Kosmos. Today in studio we have Dr. Frikkie Engelbrecht. He was a lecturer, a retired lecturer over the past 30 years. Dr. Frikkie, how are you?
No, I'm very well. I'm very well. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, okay.
Talk about education. It's
Yeah.
my passion, you know.
So in today's discussion, we're going to be breaking the chain of poverty by looking into the different curriculums that are being built forth. So Dr. Frikkie, I would like to talk to you about the proposed new curriculums with the junior and senior phases in schools. Why is that?
Yeah, good question. So why did I propose this new curriculum for junior and senior secondary? I've been a high school teacher for 4 years, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think 4 years.
Okay.
And then I joined the old academy, and then you name and Noost, and for 30 years in a row. And now I'm retired, but my whole life, my whole education is about education. Education, and it is my passion. I think our country is in a difficult spot. We think we are doing good if we continue with the old apartheid education system.
Yeah.
But the fact is we're not doing good. We should have changed it because we're in control now. We can change it.
Yeah.
Right? This is now we must make it our thing. But if we want to change the high school education, we must have solid scientific ideas on why are we doing it, isn't it? Otherwise, it's just an opinion.
Yeah,
oh, I like that, let's do it this way. But then 10 years later, you discover, okay, that was not such a good idea. So we shouldn't do that. When we change, we got to make sure the scientific base is sound. And then we change and we adapt things and we don't stick with, no, subjects must have 6 periods a week. Right? This is absolutely nonsense,
Yeah.
Whoever decided it 100 years ago doesn't matter. We gotta say, we make now 4 periods a week for a subject or 5. We don't have to stick to 6. That's why we end up with a 7-day work week. School week, which is completely unnecessary administration, making the kids dear mekaar and the teachers, and they gotta have rosters.
I mean, seeing so far that the learners are not performing as expected of them, so I think implementing these changes would bring something forth.
Yep. Okay, so let's go to the main reason why I am proposing this new curriculum for junior and senior secondary. Number one, our Constitution, Article 5, 10, and 20, promise that all the people of Namibia will have equal opportunity for education. And secondly, for equal quality education. And thirdly, no discrimination against anybody whatsoever on any, gender, race, all those basis, criteria. So if we put that in our Constitution, the idea is really that we must produce that. We must deliver that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
we should.
If we thought that was a good idea, not just a consultant's idea, but we should believe that and we should try to produce that and create that and deliver what we promised. And that's why I think it's time that we deliver on our constitutional promise. So that means actually I'm saying, I think that we are not producing equal opportunities and equal quality to all the learners, right? That's what I'm saying, because we don't deliver. How can we say that? Here it is, scientific base for the idea of we need something different. We all know kids are different, from 2 years old, they do things different. We are all different. We are absolutely uniquely designed with our own passions and talents and abilities.
Yes.
And all the people and administrative people and parliamentary people in the world, they recognize that, people is different. You know, we provide for women in other ways than for men. And, you know, just as a simple example, because we recognize the differences and we cater therefore. The problem is when it comes to education, we don't do that. See, before apartheid or before independence, we had a unified system. We all thought it's a very good system. But that system is mainly an academic curriculum, which means the academic curriculum is addressing the ability of a small percentage of people in Namibia. Small percentage. I don't have the proper statistics, but take it like this. For all the grade 12s, no, let's go one step back. For all the grade 11s that qualify to go to 12, you know, the numbers drop to less than 10%. From all the grade 12s that made it from 11 to 12, that wanted to be there and made it, is a very small number of the senior secondary total in the country. The people who actually wrote grade 12 and qualify for further education is, I guess, not more than 3% of the total grade 11, 12 people who could have gone to grade 12.
So as from grade 11 to grade 12, the number just keeps decreasing.
Yep.
And where do we leave these learners?
Yep, that's it. So every year we put 20 to 30,000 learners with grade 11 on the street, and they have no future. And I think we should have empathy and passion and say they need to be educated in a manner that suits their talents and abilities.
That does go back to the act of equality.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. So you see, the way that we have a scientific base is to recognize individualization in education is a crucial thing. We all recognized it in theory, but in practice, it doesn't happen. So there are 10 types of intelligences.
Interesting.
Yeah. That means people have 10 categories of different abilities because intelligence is an ability, right? It's an intellectual ability. The academic intelligence is an academic ability. But there are a practical intelligence. See, you know people that can fix anything with their hands?
Yeah.
You give them a few stuff, they build anything for you, and they repair anything, and they love it. They're clever. They have another kind of intelligence. We call it a practical intelligence.
I think that's why we have the school high TS here in
Yeah. The old technical high school was it?
Yeah. And they still are continuing. I mean, I remember, I think it was last year when the government had donated some cars to them so that they are able to work on them, because there are children who are way better at working practically than theoretically in schools.
Exactly. You see, the problem with society is we have accepted there is only one intelligence, and that's the academic one. So now all the other kids that do not perform well on the marks in school, they think, no, we're stupid. And nobody tells them, no, you're not. You know, we all admire good actors, sport stars, athletic stars, you know, blah, blah, blah. There are brilliant people out there, singers and dancers and visual artists and academics. They are all brilliant. They have another type of brilliance. So you have had an aesthetic intelligence, you know, culture, art, visual art, music, acting. You have a practical intelligence, you have the academic intelligence, you have a linguistic intelligence, you have a physical body intelligence.
Yes.
You know, these people on the trampolines, yes, and they go up and they turn,
gymnasts,
and the gymnasts, you know, you can't even follow them how they twist and turn and come on their feet.
It's their talent.
And nobody can do that. Not many can do that.
Not
They've got a brilliant physical intelligence. They feel it. They don't have to worry. I almost broke my neck in high school trying to do that. And the teacher stopped me. He see, no, they will bury me if I try again. You've got a social intelligence, your interaction with others. You get people, they are just normal good to make contact with other people.
They don't struggle.
They're kind, they're friendly, they're humble, they don't pretend in.
Yeah.
So they've gotten social intelligence. And then there is an emotional intelligence. People must learn how to control their emotions, how to recognize emotions, how to express emotions, how to deal with anger as an emotion, how to deal with disappointment as an emotion. Okay, so we can go on. There is even more. There's a last one. There are more, but I'm just going to mention one more.
Okay.
There is a spiritual intelligence.
All right.
People with the ability to understand how the spiritual dimension operates, what it entails, why is it important, that your spiritual dimension is actually our highest dimension. Because if you take that away and you live like you want to, you don't live by spiritual values, then you live by your wants and your desires. And then you fail to be a human, because it's our spiritual dimension that differs from the world of animals.
It does.
They live like they want to, and that's programmed, they want to do that. But we got a will, we got a choice. If we choose to live like an animal, then you ignore your spiritual dimension. It's sad there. Simple. If you steal, murder, rape, take bribes and blah, blah, all the bad things,
there are consequences.
Then you are not human. You're living like an animal. You do what you want. You do what you want. That means you play your own God. But let me not go there. That's a spiritual thing. You see, if we take away the spiritual values, we are becoming inhumane. We are actually primitive. We are not educated if you do not recognize the importance of a spiritual dimension. So what I'm saying is, there are 10 types of intelligences. That means if we would like to do the Constitution pride and offer people equal quality education, then we got to have a new kind of curriculum that will address the other 9 intelligences apart from the academic one. In fact, the academic one stays, it addresses the academic intelligence. But we need another one that will address a lot more of the other intelligences. And that is what I am proposing, because the reality is showing us that the people are suffering. They don't have food, they don't have a job, because the grade 11 school qualification is counting for nothing. And I don't want to go there, but you see, from a practical academic point of view, we could have talked about, so what is the aims of high school education? You see, and there are libraries full to answer that question. We're just going to say one sentence. If you recognize that we are humans created body, soul, and spirit, that's our dimensions. And that's why the spirit dimension is the highest, because that makes us human. That means if education does not recognize the 3 dimensions of humanity and cater for all 3 dimensions, develop all 3 that abilities in people, then we are doing humanity damage. We are harming them, because we call it holistic education. It means, you got to understand the completeness of a human, his nature, and educate the whole nature. If I only teach people academic knowledge, can you see? Oh, academic knowledge is part of the soul dimension. Body,
it is.
soul. Soul is psychology, so it is your emotions, your intellect, and your will. And look at our education, not just Namibia. The whole world is doing it wrong. If we look at the soul, we say the intellect is there, the emotions is there, and your will is there. So we are catering for the intellect. We are giving kids as lots of knowledge in form of subjects. If we don't develop the body, we're failing 1/3 of humanity to develop. If we don't develop the emotions, we are failing 1/3 of the soul dimension. You see, so we are actually addressing 1/3 of the soul dimension, just 1/3. We don't teach people how to handle emotions, how to do emotions. What is real love, you know? How do we love? Why do we love? How do a woman want to be loved? How does a man want to be loved? We should talk about those things. This is emotional stuff, and it's the most important emotion in people's lives, love.
I think in the end, during your school phase, if you are able to be taught these things as you grow older to become an adult, you'd find it easier because you know what you need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would just like to talk to you as well on clarifying the features of the job-orientated of the secondary curriculum. I would like to for you to just emphasize more on the how it differs from the current academic curriculum.
Yeah. Okay, one final sentence about our third question. We have a new proposal for a new type of curriculum because the Constitution promised people that they will have equal quality and opportunity for education, and we don't do that. And we are seeing that there are scientifically different kinds of intelligences, so we need to provide for all 10, not just for one academic one, because then we discriminate against 9 types of intelligences. And the Constitution promised no discrimination in no matter whatsoever. And then if we look at the practice of our school education, we got to say, I don't want to put the difficult spots of our system on the table, but there are lots of schools with no water, no electricity, not even toilets for the kids, not even toilets for the teachers.
Yeah.
You understand?
Very saddening.
There are 2,334 unqualified teachers in Namibia. So how can we promise quality education for all, but in some schools there are a few qualified teachers and a lot of unqualified teachers? That means that area is actually discriminated against, and we should address that. You know, then we got to train the teachers, or we got to replace them with qualified teachers, and so on and so on. The simple thing like textbooks in reality of the classroom. If there are not enough chairs and a child must stand or sit on the floor, you know, that's not comfortable. Where does he write? He's cramped. There are too many people. There's a noise. He can't actually hear even if he wanted to. So not enough classrooms, not enough facilities. And most important, the teaching learning materials is so absent in our schools.
So these are the factors that are inhibiting good education.
The quality. That's factors that is changing from school to school in terms of how the quality differs. Because schools don't have textbooks. They have a few, but not all. I've given my domestic worker textbooks for her 4 kids. Because how can you expect a kid to sit a whole year in school, you know, and now and then he gets a few notes, but he must pass the exam? It's just inhumane and not understandable. We got to drop anything else. If kids don't have textbooks, how can they actually
progress?
How can they understand what they learn? How can they remember it? If you don't understand knowledge, right? Now, I can't clarify now what that means because it's a long one. But if you don't understand knowledge, if you don't have insight in your knowledge, it's not changing your character. It's not changing your intellectual growth of your mind if you don't understand it. Because if you memorize stuff, you write the exam the next day and it's gone. That info is replaced with new info because in the short-term memory, stuff is just coming there and replaced with the next stuff. If you understand stuff, only then it goes into your mainframe and it is saved. And only stuff that is saved change your perspective on life because you understand things, the value, the application, the relationship with other stuff, you know. If you don't have the understanding, school education is meaning absolutely nothing for you.
I think the resources, talking in terms of the textbooks, would also help learners who learn visually, because you would find textbooks have the pictures and so forth.
Absolutely. Yeah. So now we're relying on the oral culture of our nation. You know, things were transferred from generation to generation, mostly orally, and now it is still happening. But you can't go to formal education and do it orally. You gotta use the textbooks.
Yeah, true.
That's where they gotta see the things and the sequence and the headings and the titles and the questions to get insight and understand the knowledge. Okay, let's drop that. Let's go to the next one and say, okay, how does my new proposal then looks like in terms of the current system, the academic one? Let's just look and just going to mention it quickly. In the junior secondary for grade 8 and 9, there are 7 promotional subjects, you know. That's basically all the subjects there is in the academic curriculum. Then there are 2 elective still promotional subjects. So they've got 9 promotional subjects, but these 2 electives are coming from pre-vocational subjects. Like agricultural studies, design and technology, you know, home economics, fashion and fabrics and so on. They got to take 2 of that as promotional subjects in the academic curriculum. And then there are 5 support subjects. There's no exams about that, but there are classes about that, and it is important support subjects. The point is, if you include something in a curriculum, then the idea was it was worthwhile to include it. And now our system and reality says, yeah, okay, we have included it, but it's not a core, it's not a promotional subject.
And you'd find teachers would neglect this subjects and
Absolutely.
end up prioritizing the other 7.
The kids do homework, they play outside. Sometimes in some schools, I know for a fact that life skills or religious and moral education are not even on the timetable.
At times they are there, but then since the teacher who teaches math is the teacher for Bible studies, would then say,
he has
no, let's
no
have
interest in
They
that.
have no interest, and that's how it's neglected and actually taken out.
So you see, that's the problem with the academic curriculum. Knowledge develops at an increasing rate. And so the knowledge that comes in new goes to the university tops, and universities push down the older knowledge to the schools because they can't include all. Therefore, they select the latest, the newest, the smartest, and they push the older ones down to the school system. And so the matric grade 12 stuff goes down to grade A. We all see it now. The grade 1 and 2 do stuff that we did in grade 7 50 years ago. It's terrible. Yes, absolutely terrible. That's the problem with the academic system. All the new knowledge cannot forever, we are busy doing this for 2,000 years already. We cannot just accumulate all the knowledge and put it in the school system. And the kids got to spend day and night to do the homework and read the books and do the projects. You see, there's a problem with the academic curriculum. We got to select the right academic stuff for a purpose and not what is available in every subject. And we don't do that. We just take all the new stuff and put it in the academic subjects. You can't do that. You just can't do that. No person on earth will eventually be able to pass a standard because there are simply too much knowledge. So that's a problem. Now listen, if the junior secondary has 7 promotional subjects and 2 electives from a pre-vocational subject, and then 5 support subjects. The support subjects are life skills, arts, which is never offered in the schools, religious and moral education, information and communication, physical education, and a reading period. Reading period should be done in the language periods, not in a separate period. It's not necessary. You just bugger up the timetable system for people. 5, 7, 14 subjects. You see, that's it. That's exactly what it is. Academic curriculum, 14 subjects. Now, if you end up with so many subjects, you gotta go to a 7-week schooling just to fit in all the subjects. And all you gotta do is take out of some of the subjects on a scientific basis and reduce the periods. Why do we have to have 6 periods? We could make it 5 and the system could work better. And then we get back to a 5-day, 1-week system and it works perfectly. So, what do I change in a junior secondary in terms of my job-oriented curriculum? Because that's what I call it. It's a job-oriented curriculum. So can you see here, the languages are including 2 electives, which is promotional subjects, from a pre-vocational subjects group. Now, if you understand the intelligences, then we shouldn't do that. Because why? We all got a bit of mathematical intelligence, isn't it?
Yeah.
Long story short, we all got some ability in all the 10 intelligences. It is, we're all a bit social, emotional, practical.
We have a bit of everything.
We have a bit of all of that. It's like the 4 personalities. We all have features of the 4 personalities in us. But the issue is, how do we differ really? It is which one of the 4 is dominant in you, and which one is your second one, and which one is your third one. You see, that sequence and the dominant one is determining your actual personality, your core personality. The intelligences is working the same way. We acknowledge we have all got a bit of abilities on all the 10 intelligences, but it is your dominant intelligence that's making your intelligence. And so you're academic or you're practical. I had a brother. He was brilliant practical. I always boasted and said, you just give him enough iron rods and whatever you want to build something for you. You can ask a tank or an aeroplane and he will do it. He was absolutely stunning brilliant. I was so respectful of him.
Really?
I was brilliant in my academic world, but he was brilliant. And he was brilliant in another way. He had another intelligence.
That was what was dominant in him.
In him.
Practice.
And I respected you and I said, he's as good in his field as I'm as good with my PhD in the academic field. We are both brilliant, just not the same brilliant. And schools got to click that eventually and say, now is the time. We got to take out the vocational subjects from an academic system.
So having
and keep it academic.
So if it's academic, you saying that we should take the vocational subjects out. Does that mean that they will be put on their own as another academic system?
Yeah.
For the learners that have a practical dominant...
We make a new junior secondary curriculum. Here it is. Here's the new one that I propose. Instead of 7 promotional subjects, I have 9 promotional subjects, but I reduced the periods to 4 per subject. Then you've got 36 subjects, periods a week. You're going to have 40 a week, né? That's the time available for school days, 8 periods. Here is my 9 promotional core subjects. Number 1, English, second language, mathematics, life science, physical science. And now here comes the changes already. You can choose between geography or history. right? You don't have
so
to
they won't
take
have to
both
be
of them.
both.
No, the old one is, you say you got to
Okay,
take both.
yeah.
And you can take accounting or business studies or economics.
And
Because
usually
that's
they're
in the
all
field.
together.
It's in the field. If you have a feeling for that field, you've got 3 subjects in that field. But you don't have to force people to do all of them. And here is the real change in my proposal for junior secondary. I say, put in there religious and moral education and life skills that was in the former a support subject for 1 period a week, which never happens. Now you go back to our intelligences and the holistic development. Can you see?
Yeah.
Also, if we only stick to the academic knowledge, we're ignoring 2/3 of our human nature. Now, how can we call that quality education? It's not. It's not holistic. So I say, don't put in the vocational subjects in the academic curriculum. Grade 8 and 9 for junior secondary. Remember, that is still part of basic education. So we give them mother tongue, we give them maths, we give them English, and they can have a little bit of choices there in a subject field, and that's still fine. But the great difference here is, I say, religious and moral education must become a promotional subject, because the type of intelligences that we develop by religious and moral education, you see, there's the spiritual intelligence in the first place, but there's a lot of social intelligence stuff in religious and moral education, right? There's a lot of implications for becoming a decent person in your interaction, controlling your emotions, respecting other people. Don't curse them and threaten them and kick their butt. And it's all part. If we teach kids spiritual values, honesty, fairness, it makes a huge difference in the attitude, in the heart of a person, right? Remember, our spiritual dimension, the Bible calls it your heart. We know it's not the physical heart, but it's the spirit is your heart. It's the core of your being.
Yeah.
That's why we can say with scientific insight, it is the highest dimension of humanity, because the spiritual dimension is our heart, and the heart is the pumping organism that keeps us alive, right? So spiritual heart is making us human. If we have that as a compulsory core, that means they get 4 periods like all the other promotional subjects. That means they've got a full impact on several intelligences, that people become smart citizens and have some place to rely on when they get through difficult times. They're much more happier if they have a spiritual base than not. And I don't want to go there, but there is the expression in the Bible, if you didn't meet God's love, you cannot love. Okay, we're not going to talk about that.
Okay.
But
Story for another
think
day.
about it, né?
Yeah.
If you didn't meet God's unconditional love in your life, you cannot give and love somebody, because you don't know real love.
Story for another day.
You can't give what you don't have, isn't it?
You can't.
So the support subjects, I say, for 4 periods a week, 2 support subjects, just 2. Career explorations. See, so now we built in a totally new subject. And say, we call it career explorations. So we are doing career guidance for grade 8 and 9. So every trimester you can introduce 2 other careers. So grade 8 and 9, that means it's a 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 kind of careers that you can introduce to people and say, what do you think? How do you see it? And benefits, then help them how to choose a career the right way.
Yeah, because most of them now feel that career guidance is mostly being given to the ones in the secondary.
Yeah, in senior secondary,
Yeah.
which subject packages they can take.
But you've already made the choice of subjects that you want to go for, so
Yeah.
it would be a bit late to go back,
Absolutely.
even if you find interest in something
Yeah.
else. So I think it would help them if it was
Yeah.
brought to the juniors.
So I say, put in career explorations for 2 periods a week, and then they can choose for another support subject between arts, the singing, the dancing, the drama, the crafts, the visual painting. They can either do the artistic leg or they can do a physical education leg. They can choose one of the two. They don't have to do both because we recognize the differences. The people who are crazy about music and art do not necessarily want to do physical education. And I'm not talking about physical education in the sense of, the old gymnastic style. I'm thinking about, we gotta go modern. You see how our Namibian athletes make huge money in the rest of the world.
The likes of Bob.
Athletics is a serious job these days. Professional tennis, professional soccer, professional all the sports, they make billions and millions of money. Why don't we acknowledge that our kids has a lot of potential physically, artistically. They can sing. Our African people, we sing so beautifully, isn't it? And they are dancing and they can act. But we as a school, we don't pay any attention to develop all of these people's wonderful talents, which they could make a living on, better than the one who's going study. You understand?
Yes.
These brilliant stars these days makes a lot more money than people with degrees.
I think it's just stereotype that was put up within our African norms that the only way to make it in life is strictly academics.
Yeah.
Let's take away, because there are people who are really good at athletics.
Yeah.
People who are really good at extra moral activities around the school.
Exactly.
They can act, they can dance.
Yeah.
But when it comes to education, when it comes to the academic phase,
then they appear stupid.
Yeah,
but they're not.
Stupid.
They have another kind of clever. So you see, I say, put it in there. That is then a track with 2 periods a week at least, although it's not an examination subject, but we're developing their type of intelligence which they can build on after school. And I am thinking about sports training, fitness training and sport coaching. If kids could start understanding a particular sport that they love, and look at videos and talk about, now, was that a clever move or not? What is intelligent sport playing, performing involved? They can become good coaches. So after school, they can coach people and coach kids. But then there must be facilities in schools, fields, equipment, balls, nets, coaches to develop these intelligences of the nation.
So the only issue that we have here is the lack of resources.
We gotta make priorities right. You can't say there's no money. You understand? You cannot say there is no money. You gotta reprioritize the money that you've got. For the biggest priority should get more money, and these other types of intelligences get no money. No money.
Very sad.
Okay, last one. The new academic curriculum. Remember, now in the grade 11 and 10, 11 and 12, that academic curriculum has some of these vocational subjects in. And I say, like in the old, you mentioned the high technical school, RTS, high school technical.
Technical.
Yeah, something. Those beautiful schools delivered wonderful kids, but if you look at it academically, it was a disastrous model. Because what did they do? They gave kids the full BSc load, maths, physical science, chemistry,
Yes.
The whole BSc package. They had to take that compulsory. And then they've got the option between 4, panel beater or spray painting or woodwork and stuff like that. Engines, working engines. Did you see what they did? There was no academic base in the thinking. It was just an idea. It sounds good. We give them this and this. But remember, if we have a dominant ability, if you are a practical kid, to make you play a musical instrument or dance is not going to sit with you. It's not your intelligence. So they made it wrong. That model was wrong. You do not force upon kids after grade 9, then basic education is over, okay? Then we have covered the reading, the writing, and the arithmetic. It's over. That take basically everything that we have, we put it in there. Grade 9, then it stops. Basic education is over. Now, we got to acknowledge the different intelligence and say, okay, we got the 3 R's.
Yeah.
Now, you can start to develop your particular unique abilities. So there must be options now. After grade 9, every kid must have the option to go with his intelligence. His intelligence must be developed. And this is what I say, the pure academic one for grade 10, 11, and 12 should actually look like this. If I go back to the grade 10 one, if I look back at the grade 10 one, here it is. The grade 10 one had 3 promotional, the grade 10, 11, and 12, the academic stream, that's currently the only thing. They had 3 promotional subjects, English, another language, and maths.
Yes.
You see what's the problem?
What is the problem?
We are not giving kids to make a choice. We say, you shall take a second language. You shall take mathematics. You say, no, I want to become a ballet dancer. I don't care about mathematics. I will not need mathematics. This is not my talent. It's not my direction for my future. But, you see, that's where we got to stop compulsory things and say, okay, you can take a choice here. And I say, the new grade 10, 11, and 12, the academic one, should simply look like this. Oh, I lost my place again. Here it is. The senior secondary one. No, still the junior, sorry. But I have tried to explain this out of my head. I'm going to make serious mistakes. I got to stick to the facts. It's the only way to do it. So, you see, current academic compulsory grade 10, 11, 12. 3 promotional course, English, another language, maths. Then 2 subjects from the BA, BCom, BSc study fields. 2 subjects that you got to take there. But here we've got entrepreneurship, development studies, art and design, hospitality, home economics. You see, we're back to the vocational subjects.
Yes. Catering for everyone.
But the system is not recognizing these subjects as a field of study. So we've got it in there and say, you got to take 2 from a field of study, but they don't see this as a field of study. So, but let's leave that. That's academic argument. Then they've got a supplementary vocational subject, right? A supplementary vocational subject. They don't want any of this stuff. The academic person want a pure academic stuff, right? So you can give them academic stuff. You can put music and art as a subject in the academic and call it in the artistic field. But then they do on a high level, studying visual, how do you paint, how the old painters, how did painting develop. So it's an academic subject. It's going to prepare you. You will probably be able to paint after that. But you can't do it with these subjects. If I give you art and design, you really can't go and do a job with that. It's just academic knowledge because there's no practical training that apply the theory that I'm teaching you. So keep the academic pure, and then the academic track will look like this. So let me just get the academic track. Job oriented. Sorry, I gotta turn it here.
Okay.
What did I do with the senior secondary academic curriculum? The senior secondary academic curriculum. Here say. I say, the new academic curriculum should simply look like this. This is a person who have decided, I want to be an academic person. I've got an academic intelligence. I'm interested in doing it. It's not my parents forcing me, I must do it, because they still think you're only clever if you got good marks.
Yeah.
And if someone is time that someone tell the parents that, I say, you've got 5 promotional subjects. That's all. Not hierdie lots of subjects for academic people with lots of vocational stuff. Nothing of that. I say, you've got 1 promotional core. That's English. That's the national language. You got to take that. It's a compulsory subject. You can't say, I don't want to do English.
No, you have
You can't get a job without speaking English. Right. And then you take 4 promotional subjects. Again, from a field of study. Right? And then, after that, now you can go to university with that 4 promotional studies in a field of BCom, BA, BSc, arts. And then you only simply have 3 support subjects, which is life skills, RME, and arts. So now you've got 3 of those, and it's a support subject. So there are no exams for that, but at least it's in the curriculum for the academic person. The normal current academic one is not having in religious and moral education. From grade 10 on, it's out. And I say, you can't do that. You don't understand if you throw that out. You're breaking down the foundation of your house. You can't do that. You got to develop the spiritual intelligence, the emotional intelligence, practical intelligence with life skills. There's a lot of beautiful stuff in life skills.
Yeah.
That's one good subject in the schools, but we got to make it more periods. And like in the other one I proposed, it's actually a compulsory exam subject.
Oh, I see that with this proposal, learners will not feel forced to do a second language. English will become their first.
Yeah.
So having that, besides the second language, also math, we've had a lot of cases of learners, especially in grade 10, that would end up failing because they did not pass mathematics.
Exactly.
So now it draws them back and then it floods the
No, they
system
must
again.
leave school after grade 11 because now they failed math, so they can't continue with grade 12 anyway, because there, math is still compulsory. So if you fail, you can't continue.
That's a very sad part. So
It's
now
very
having
sad.
it as a choice
Yeah.
would mean that, okay, I can see I'm not good
Yeah.
at numbers, so I don't have to take it. I can be able to take something that I want to continue doing as I move
Exactly.
into the tertiary institutions.
Exactly. So someone could say, yeah, but you can't throw out the second language. What about our indigenous languages?
Yeah,
We
what
want to
about our
develop
culture and
that. No. We start from grade 4. I think the indigenous languages start already.
Yes.
So that's compulsory. You take your language, your mother tongue, up to grade 9. That's the compulsory part. But after that, if you want to continue with that as the language that you want to study, then my proposal still allows for that. I only say you got to take English. But if you want to take a second language, it becomes part of the BA curriculum, BA study field. So you can take another language as part of the BA field. So it's not thrown out. It's say, you speak your mother tongue at home. So the education in school for the mother tongue is check a bit the pronunciation, but start to learn how to spell it, how to write it, how to read it. That's the main thing that the school education is putting on the indigenous language to formalize it, that you can also write your language correctly and read it correctly and pronounce it correctly and understand the grammar and so on. But it will not go away. It's in you. Use your language, and you've got now up to grade 9. a thorough training in the language.
Well, seeing that we are coming to the end of such a beautiful discussion, any last words you have for all the people out there?
Yeah, I just want to read to you what I think the senior secondary job-oriented curriculum should look like. Here it is. English, still good. Then computer literacy. See, now we're talking about the job curriculum. Every person got to understand computer literacy. Our phones are computers now. Everything is computers now.
Yeah.
So that's the clever thing to do. If we want to prepare people for life and work, then you got to say, this is compulsory. You have to have computer literacy. And then you have to have life skills, because there we teach them how to take out loans, how to buy things on credit, and how to plan, how to budget, how to organize, how to deal with emotions, how to solve conflicts. The life skills is a fantastic subject. We just got to use it as a compulsory subject to develop our kids in a lot of intelligences. And religious and moral education, compulsory. And then their final promotional subject, entrepreneurship. See, this is a practical job-oriented curriculum. I say, you have English, computer literacy, life skills, moral education covering the 8, 9 other intelligences between those, and entrepreneurship. So I'm giving you enough academic knowledge to understand how does a business work? What does the labor law say you gotta comply with if you have an owner, you got your own business? You see, all that kinds of things. Where do I get a loan? Now, they've got 5 subjects. The next one, they can take a promotional subject from a range in the areas of, in the job areas. All right, they select a subject, a job, out of the areas, like there are 11 areas, categories of jobs in the world. Human services, beauticians, for instance, business management and administration, marketing and sales careers, government and public administration, transportation, blah, 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 architecture, education, healthcare, hospitality, tourism, technology. You see, we take those careers in the world and we take the basic level and we work out a curriculum for them to do in grade 10 and 11. They get 4 periods theory in that subject, and they get 4 periods practical exercises. And then they've got 1 promotional subject that is contributing to boost their occupational theory. And then they've got 1 support subject where they can choose, again, arts or the physical education, the sport one. You see, the academic subjects is English and computer literacy, but it's practical subjects. The religious and moral education and entrepreneurship, you can call it academic subjects, but it's not the normal ones. It's job-oriented base.
No, thank you so much, Dr. Frikkie. It was such a lovely discussion for broadening all this educational things, and I'm hoping that the proposals that you've brought up will be implemented someday, because we're looking at just bettering our country's education system.
Yeah.
I look forward to talking to you next time.
Yeah. Maybe we should talk about democracy. But between you and me, I have decided I'm going to send this document to NANSU, because they are supposed to fight for what's right for its students in Namibia.
Thank you so
And
much.
I'm hoping that they will actually do something with this.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so
Right.
much.
You're welcome.